we conclude that there is no magical single solution to the problems posed by irregular migration in a world where millions of people have been displaced from their homes by war, by famine, by local terrorism and by economic necessity. We are very clear that detailed, evidence-driven, properly costed and fully tested policy initiatives are by far the most likely to achieve sustainable, incremental change, rather than a headline-grabbing initiative lacking in a rigorous evidence base and with unclear costings. We agree that safe and legal routes for those in search of secure homes are essential to bringing the business model of the criminals who prey on vulnerable people. The UK is currently spending £1.5 billion a year on its asylum system. We house asylum seekers and refugees in hotels at a cost of nearly £5 million a day. We agree with the Home Secretary that the asylum system is broken and that this is unsustainable. We do not agree that it was those who seek safety by crossing the Channel who broke the system. The Home Office urgently needs to reduce the asylum backlog. The number of people coming to the UK each year is relatively stable, around 48,000 last year. But the time being taken to grant asylum or make another determination has steadily risen. So we recommend addressing the work-in-progress caseload of 125,000 as a priority. That means hard, invisible grind, having enough trained staff who remain in their posts long enough to make a difference, effective IT systems, swifter and better decision-making. The most cost-effective way to cut the cost would be to have fewer people in the asylum system, and the most effective way to do that is to get people out of it quicker through faster decision-making. 449 days for an average decision is simply far too long. No child should wait 550 days, the average time taken, to find out what their future is in the foreign country they've come to. Next, international cooperation is also needed for what is a worldwide problem. For us, that means better and more cooperation, particularly with the French, stepping up more joint working. However, we also recognise that the French themselves need to do more. One of the committee's key recommendations is seeking a deal with France to process asylum claims to the UK on French soil in reception centres, possibly on a pilot basis, and with a guarantee that those not granted asylum here would remain in France. The committee also recommends seeking closer cooperation with the EU. Brexit meant an end to the Dublin arrangement for returning people to other EU countries when their claims were unsuccessful here. It wasn't perfect, with fewer returns than successive governments wanted under that arrangement, but there are now hardly any such returns. The Minister told us that only 5 people who'd crossed in small boats last year between January and November were returned. And the government's hope of bilateral deals with individual EU countries has clearly not been realised. So provision of safe and legal routes for refugees, a realistic recognition that the UK is neither the least nor the most generous host in Europe or in the wider world, and a willingness to cooperate fully with our nearest neighbours by sharing intelligence and equipment to identify and undermine people smuggling criminal organisations, may not offer the eye-catching headlines, but are most likely to work. Finally, I just want to mention Rwanda. We have not yet come to a firm conclusion on that policy. We expect to return to it as and when anyone is relocated to Rwanda. There is, though, yet no evidence that the Rwanda policy is deterring crossings. Last week, according to figures very helpfully published on the Ministry of Defence website, a total of 1,474 people in 39 boats came to the United Kingdom, and the trend is up over the last 3 weeks. There's also not any clear idea about how much this policy will cost or how many people could be relocated to Rwanda under it. Should it survive its ongoing legal challenges, we will return to it, but it is a very good example of why a fully worked out policy might work better than one that's announced before detailed planning has been done, to work out how a policy will work and succeed.